I'm Sarah Dugdale, and this is a book or 10. So it's been a couple of weeks. I had the best intentions, but then life got in the way for a little bit there, but I'm back, so I've got a few little books to talk about today. I do have plans at some point, probably in the new year, of doing the BookTube newbie tag, but for the moment I just thought we'd have a chat about books. So to start with, one which I talked about a few weeks ago in my currently reading, which I have since finished and fallen in love with. This is Middlemarch by George Eliot, and this has very, very quickly joined my all-time favourites shelf. I just have fallen in love with the characters, with the richness of the world that Eliot describes. I think this book really took me by surprise. I was expecting to enjoy it, obviously. It was one that I picked from my sweetie list, which is my list of books that I made myself in 2020 that I was going to pick from, which of books that I've heard about and just always thought, oh yeah, I'm sure I'd really enjoy that. Why haven't I read it? Middlemarch was on there because I love Silas Marner, also by George Eliot. So obviously I had an inkling that I was going to enjoy it, but I just had no idea how much. The society, the community of Middlemarch, of this little town in the Midlands, for context, I grew up in a town in the Midlands, is so recognisable, and the characters and the things they go through. Obviously, and this was written in published in 1872. It's set in sort of the 1820s, 1830s. So obviously George Eliot herself was already looking back when she wrote it, which I think is really interesting because this whole world exists on the cusp of a lot of things politically and socially, on the cusp of reform, on the cusp of, sort of the industrial revolutions and trains and differences in how people are living and working and all of that stuff that's just about to come. And that seems so recognisable for 2020, living in the midst of a global pandemic and Brexit and just not knowing what's around the corner. I felt that quite deeply, as well as just the personal journeys that a lot of the characters go on. That Dorothea, I'm in love with Dorothea Brooke. She's idealistic to a fault, but she learns. The character development that she goes through is spectacular. Fred Vincy, character who at the beginning I was not expecting to enjoy. I was thinking, oh right, okay, idle, silly, bit of an idiot. But by the end, Fred, you little hero. So that is possibly my surprise favourite book of 2020. Unless something really shocking grabs me in the next few weeks, Middlemarch is going to be my favourite read of 2020. So, I mean, there we go. There it is. And almost certainly one that I'll be rereading again in 2021 because I just loved it. And it is 900 pages, which is intimidating and could put me off rereading too often. But then again, it's also just a really nice one, I think, to just pretty constantly have going on in the background and just read my way through over and over, the way that I used to The Railway Children when I was little. I used to read that book from cover to cover and then just go back and start again until I knew it so well that I could pick it up anywhere at any paragraph and just slide in like a comfy pair of boots. And I think Middlemarch might become that book for me as a grown-up. So there we go. So these then are books that I am currently reading. So these two are ones that I didn't mention in my end of year reading plan video, but they are both ones that I'm reading for book club. So this is Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, which is translated by Sophie Hughes. So this won an English Pen Award, which, piques my interest. I also actually really love the Fitzcarraldo editions. I think they're really beautiful editions. I don't have enough of them to have like a specific section on my shelf, but when I get there, they will all be together and they will look marvellous. So the first sentence of the blurb of this is very gripping. The blurb reads, to start with, "The witch is dead," which had my interest very, very quickly. After a group of children playing near the irrigation canals discover her her decomposing corpse. The village of La Matosa is rife with rumours about how and why this murder occurred. As the novel unfolds in a dazzling linguistic torrent, Fernanda Melchor paints a moving portrait of lives governed by poverty and violence, machismo and misogyny, superstition and prejudice. So that is certainly that mention of unfolding in a dazzling linguistic torrent. This book is definitely a linguistic torrent. The sentences are very long, like paragraphs long. They just keep going and keep going and keep going. And so I have this feeling as I'm reading of like breathlessness and urgency, which is amazing. It's not like, it's like very little that I've ever read. It's also really intense. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of some quite like, the description is really intense. So I have put this one and the next one down for a little break because the other one I'm reading is Shuggie Bain. I'm not very far into this one yet. But so it's not grim or gruesome in the same way that hurricane season is, but it is just, it's an intense life. So it's, again, there's poverty, there is suffering, there is all those sorts of themes going on. I'm sure you've heard about Shuggie Bain. This won the Booker Prize this year, and as far as I was aware, it has captured the hearts of many, many, many people. So I am really keen to read this one, and I have actually been tentatively going back in. I did pick it up again this morning, but I was only reading these two, and I needed a little bit of a break. So from just the intensity. So what I picked up was this, which is The Private Joys of Nnenna Maloney by Okechukwu Nzelu. This follows Nnenna Maloney and her mother Joni Maloney, which is a great name, love a name that rhymes, who live in Manchester. So this flips between 1992, when Joni met Maurice, who is Nnenna's father, who Nnenna has never met, and 2009, when Nnenna is 16 and one of her teachers has suggested that she would benefit from studying at the Sorbonne, and her mother has had an unexpectedly unencouraging reaction. So it's about their relationship as mother and daughter and how close they are and how growing up kind of changes that. It's about Manchester. It's about Nnenna being mixed race and having been raised by her white mother and her wanting to know more about her Igbo Nigerian heritage. And it is, I'm about a third of the way through, or slightly more. I think I'll finish this before the end of the weekend. It's already Sunday, so it might not be before the end of the weekend. I'll probably finish this by like Monday or Tuesday, because I am just flying through it and really enjoying it. It's got its intense themes, but it's also really funny and full of warmth. And I'm a little bit in love with both Nnenna and Joni, so I'm loving this one. So my camera stopped filming there for some reason, so I just talked all about this last book, and it's just not there, so I'm gonna have to do that again. But so last one, this is 10 Things About Writing by Joanne Harris. I pre-ordered this way back when I think this was crowdfunded, when that first went up. I follow Joanne Harris on Twitter, so if you do, you might be familiar with her hashtag 10 things tweets, where she gives 10 tweets, 10 pieces of advice about writing, and this is essentially a book format of the same kind of principle, so on lots of different subjects, from sort of, characterization, dialogue, plot, but also so things like, where do I start, what makes a story, who makes a book, so things about the publishing industry and how you get into that, how the actual machinations of that work, publication and beyond, Welcome to the Dark Side, which I'm interested to find out what's in Welcome to the Dark Side. Let's have a little look. Oh, so this is things like rejection and guilt, dealing with fear, coping with failure, writer's block, imposter syndrome. So all really useful topics. I'm really enjoying the format of the lists because it's very easy to read, but they're also full of nuggets of absolutely invaluable advice. So I've just essentially been highlighting, underlining, all in pencil, but making notes, annotating, picking out really lovely quotes to sort of drill them into my brain and just doodling them on the pages. I know some people might not like the idea of drawing on books like this, but to me, this is like a textbook. I'm a writer, and this is something I'm reading in the pursuit of improving my writing, like I'm studying it. So drawing on it makes sense to me because it's like a workbook. But yeah, this is just full of really interesting advice where I've got to so far. So I'm really keen to read the rest of it, and it's just really nice change of pace to read the kind of the list format when I'm finding other things a little bit heavy. So that's all I had to talk about today. I will be back at some point with another video. I'm not sure about what. It's a mystery. You'll have to come back and find out. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.